Welcome to our webinar series presented by Ana G. Mendez University. As you know, Ana G. Mendez University is a member of the Global Trade Chamber, and they provide different programs for everybody that wants to learn more about different careers. This is the time for you to do it. They have bachelor degrees, they have associate degrees, they also have doctorate degrees. And as you know, Ana G. Mendez University is a school that is everywhere. You can take courses online, you can take courses in person. There's a lot of options and opportunities for you. So there's no excuse for not to take further your dream or pursuing the career that you want. So once again, thank you so much, Ana G. Mendez University, for sponsoring this monthly webinar and being a member of the Global Trade Chamber. Today, as always, I have very important guests. They are faculty members of Universidad Ana G. Mendez, because we were talking about the difference between the two corporations in the US and Puerto Rico. But what they have in common is one goal: quality in education. And today they're going to talk about something so important for everybody. But before I start introducing officially our guests, let me tell you a little bit about them. So I'm going to start with Dr. Zoe Santiago. She is in hotel and restaurant administration from Oklahoma State University. She also has a master's degree in event management from George Washington University and bachelor's degree in marketing from the University of Puerto Rico. Dr. Santiago-Font is an associate professor at the International School of Hospitality and Culinary Arts at Universidad Ana G. Mendez. And well, in general, as I told you before, she is a great faculty member of the school. Dr. Santiago teaches most of the baccalaureate courses in event production, including the experience design course, as well as other courses in the area of tourism and hospitality. So we're going to welcome Dr. Santiago.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And also we have Professor Ramon Corrada, who's an assistant professor at the Jose A. Tony Santana International School of Hospitality and Culinary Arts at the Universidad Ana G. Mendez, el Recinto Carolina campus since 2011, one of the leading hospitality and culinary industry schools in the Caribbean. Mr. Corrada has an extensive background in events, organization, marketing, management, and promotion in both private and public sectors. And this is very interesting when you mentioned the culinary arts, hospitality and culinary arts, which is the ISHCA in Puerto Rico, the Recinto Carolina, right?
Yes.
Campus. Because we're going to have next week, right? We're going to have our global event, our global convention, and the Hospitality and Culinary Arts School is actually helping us, to achieve this dream of having the event there, and they're going to provide all the food and beverage. So we're very excited about this event next week, and we were talking with the two professors here, Dr. Santiago and Dr. Ramon, about this activity, so we're very excited. But today, talking about excitement and great things, I really want to introduce the topic, which is creating meaningful client experiences. That is so important for us, especially when you have a business, right? You start a business or you want to expand or grow your business. You definitely need to understand more about the customer expectation, the customer behavior, the creating meaningful experience for clients. And Professor Ramon and Professor Zoe are going to explain to us the importance of this. So without further introduction, I'm going to let Dr. Santiago and Corrada to explain the presentation today.
All right. Well, thank you, Maria, for having us. It's an honor for us to have this opportunity, this space, to discuss what we really love, which is making people happy, creating experiences for other people. We've devoted mostly our lives, right, Ramon, to do this, and we love it every time. So today we're trying to explain a little bit of what you should do to create that real meaningful interaction with other clients, so that the clients not only like what they see when they go for the first time, but keep coming, right? Which is what we want.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, or good evening, depending when you're listening to this webinar. It's a honor to be here, and thank you, Maria, for your words. And we're looking forward to have you next week in Puerto Rico and have you taste all the awesome food and beverage that we get to taste every day in our school with our students and our faculty. And it's part of, and it's a good segue to what we're talking today because the experience that our school has been able to manufacture and create with all the different events that we host is something that we have taken into consideration what we're going to talk about today, and having the clients or the guests that we receive at the school to have a memorable experience and that they remember the time that they came to our school and the service that they got from our students and our faculty and the awesome food and beverage that they got there. So it's everything is related to what we're talking today and what you were mentioning at the introduction.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So please go ahead and start the presentation. I may have some questions, through your presentation. I don't want to leave it for the end because sometimes some other questions are going to arrive in my mind. So I'm just going to let you know. And I'm sure that the audience, sometimes they text me or they send me messages to ask a few questions. So I'm going to also ask you questions.
All right.
Yeah,
thank you.
All right, well, let's get started. What's an experience, right? So that we need to frame our topic, and before starting how to explain what's meaningful or how to create meaningful experiences, we need to define what really is an experience.
So yeah, definitely experience like you can read there in the presentation is we can go as simple as it's just the fact of having witnessed, felt, or known something. That's something that you can definitely have very personalized and is very individual to each of us. So that's just the simple definition of what's an experience there.
Yeah, it comes from knowledge, from that knowledge that you get when you observe something or participate in something. It's that first-hand encounter with a particular event. The experiences can really be very personal, right? Because it depends on what your previous experiences are, what are your beliefs, how you perceive things with all your senses. So there's a lot of things we could manage or control to be able to create a good or bad experience for clients, right? So Ramon, what do we have in this picture? When we were putting together the presentation, we really thought about the pictures we picked, and we picked this one. It was impressive for me. Why was that, Ramon?
Yeah, we definitely wanted to start with this one in particular because something that happened a couple of years ago, or maybe even more. But that picture there is from a commercial shooting that the brand Nike did with the tennis stars Andre Agassi and Roger Federer a bunch of years ago at Dubai. They did that at one of the hotels there that is very famous because it has the it looks like a sail, and it has that heliport right on top of the hotel. So when you look at the picture, if you can try to look closer, you can see in the background all the different tall buildings that are in Dubai, and that's obviously very tall. And they're just playing a tennis match. It was a promotional shoot for a tournament they did in Dubai, a tennis tournament, and they just recreated a tennis court with the fake grass and put the net and had two of the best players all time just play there. So the purpose of the picture is because it can has different meanings. I mean, for me, that I wasn't there, I didn't see that in person. It looks obviously amazing. I'm a fan of the brand, and obviously the creativity that they took into consideration, thinking outside the box, all the things that we're going to discuss later today. They took that into consideration, but more important, when we're thinking about the picture, we thought about what Andre Agassi and Federer thought about doing the match, because I'm sure that for them it was a totally different experience than for us that we are seeing the picture, because they were there at the heliport, right? Like feeling the breeze, feeling the the air, everything going around them, and I'm sure for them it was something that they will definitely remember forever, and it was an experience that for them their point of view was different than ours. So that's the purpose of what we wanted to talk about, that we could have different points of view and different experiences between each other.
It's interesting because when I saw the picture, I'm not a fan. I'm not a sports fan personally, for sure. So tennis is not something that's going to get my attention ever.
Oh, me neither. I'm not a tennis fan either, but
Nike got my attention just because they use this unusual venue to place their court. So sometimes you can even get to new people and new clients just using creative ways to present your product, right? So that's what the experience is all about. But I'm thinking, why are experiences so important?
Yeah, definitely. We did some research about this, and we found out that 84% of companies that work to improve their customer experience reporting increase in their revenue when they improve that experience, and at least 93% of those customers are likely to make a repeat purchases with companies who offer excellent customer service.
So that's very important. I mean, 68% of consumers say that they're willing to even pay more for products and services from a brand known to offer a good service. So they're even willing to pay more. And even 1 in 3 customers will leave a brand they really, really love after just one bad experience. So definitely experience is very important for a business, because it won't just please the clients, but it'll keep them coming, right? Which is
right.
What we want.
Yeah, that last statistic there is very important, because one bad experience can make a big difference.
Mm-hmm. So talking about experiences, what makes an experience meaningful or memorable?
Well, an experience is meaningful because it's the mix of those sensations and emotions, and we are going to go deep into that in a little bit. But that a meaningful experience is something that you remember because it made you feel something. That obviously, either good or bad, it makes you feel something. But so that's why the key of being meaningful, that in order you want to make it be positive most of the time and not have a negative aspect, as you can see in the pictures there, right? So
right. But as we'll discuss further, sometimes you can't control things that happen, and sometimes, you know, the experience turns bad, but there's way to get a bad situation, turn that bad situation into a good experience as well, and we'll discuss that further. But what science says about experiences is that to make it meaningful, you definitely have to put into considerations those emotions of people. So when people connect emotionally to something, they will create an experience that will last and will be definitely meaningful. So that's do you want to go into a little bit of what we see here in these pictures, Ramon?
Yeah, definitely. As we go along in the presentation, you're gonna see some pictures that we handpicked for this purpose, to showcase some of the good examples that we have seen, and different areas of how those settings help you with the experience. Like that, I like the particular one in the bottom there. That obviously you have to look closer because you can almost barely see it, because there's a basketball court, a full basketball court inside like what looks like a theater, and that's actually a Radio City Music Hall in New York City, and that's an NBA game that they did at that theater, which is normally a place for concerts or video awards or plays or Broadway shows. And the NBA had the All-Star game a few years ago in New York City, and they decided to go outside the box and change the venue and make something memorable for fans, and tap into everything else that is going on in New York City. Obviously, New York is a huge city, and there's many things going there. So music, play, Broadway shows are something important for the city, and so they decided to tap into that and create this experience of having a game at one of the most iconic venues in New York.
And I'm pretty sure they got a lot of new clients, maybe just because they did it in that unusual venue.
Exactly.
So sometimes the venue is one of the ways you can use to deliver a good experience. Just controlling all those little things that are outside that can really make a difference for someone. But let's go into our next slide, which takes us into how is it that we create those memorable experiences.
Yeah, definitely we have to do there's some key things that we definitely need to focus on. I think the first one is one of the most important parts, is just defining understanding who's your client, understanding who are they, and understanding also what are you exactly gonna provide them. So it's important to study your customers, to study your competition, to study your surroundings, and learn who exactly are you focusing on, and who's your target market. That's something very important, because as soon as you define that and you have a clear picture of who is going to be your customer, your main customer that is going to help to move your business, then you define what exactly are you going to promote to them or provide them. So that's your positioning, and obviously identifying gaps of things that I know we're going to talk about some examples later on, of gaps in services or gaps in areas that you could tap into that and make sure that you differentiate yourself from your competition, or from other possible brands that are competing against yourself. So that's very important, understanding your client, because if you don't know that, then everything else that you plan is probably not going to be successful.
Right. I mean, if I know what you want and I can give it to you, then I have the winning formula, right? And it's important to understand that each group is different, and there's a client for everything. Really, pretty much. I mean, we're so diverse that there's a client for everything. If you really focus on a particular market, on a particular group of people, and you take care of those people and deliver to them, you'll always have a good, successful business. So we were talking yesterday, Ramon and I, and besides understanding that client and what they want, it's also important that we understand our products, what I can offer, which things I can change and I can control to make that experience a lot better. And one of the things that's important, and many times businesses don't focus on that, is to go through the whole customer journey mapping, right? Just thinking about what customers need to do to learn about my product, know about my product, buy it, get it, and then come back, right? And maybe perhaps talk about it too, and do the word of mouth, right? Because there's this place here in Puerto Rico that I absolutely love, and I love to go there. I love the food they cook, but when I get there, there's no parking and there's no public transportation close by. So it's always a hassle every time I have to, or I want to go. So every time I think about, I want to eat in this place because I love it, I really love the food, the next thing I think is, it's going to be a headache, just to get the parking lot. So thinking about that journey and trying to fill those little gaps, it's also important. So once you have that covered, then you go into really controlling those little facts that will make will get the emotion into the experience. And science says that there's 3 things that you should do to control that environment, right? And one of them is maximizing the happiness. Another one is using creativity to develop those products. And number 3, it's always plan for surprises.
Always.
So let's get started with the first one.
Yep. So here we definitely have the maximizing happiness part, and obviously you see we divided that into 5 different areas, and obviously the first one will be you have the sensory, the affective, the mental, the engagement, and the relationships. So we'll talk about each of them and provide some examples. So if you want to start with the sensory one, Zoe.
Right. So one of the things that cultivate people and that will change the experience, especially in these days where everyone is connected to social media and people want to take pictures and, just tell the world where they are, and they are so focused on aesthetics and things like that. The way the place looks is important. So, or the way the product looks is important. And here I'm talking about what you see, which could be packaging, or it could be the ambience of the place where I go and buy that product. So the decor, the music that I put in there, that sets the ambience. It's not the same to go into a place and listen to hard rock than going to a place and listening to classical music. It just puts you in a different mood, right? Even the smell, there's a lot of companies that invest in creating a particular scent for their brands. And I can think of Banana Republic. Every time I go into that store, it smells as Banana Republic. It's just that one scent, And so every time I can feel that scent, I immediately think of that particular brand. So those little things will definitely make a difference in the experience the person has when they has that first encounter with my product.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, if you go after the senses, then definitely the affection is very important too. That happiness, the surprise, the excitement, the love, the nostalgia, like you see there. And I like to think about that when you go to museums, and obviously they feel the nostalgia of things that you did and you love in the past. And it's funny for me because when we talk to students now, and we obviously are of a older generation, but wiser, and talk to students, and we talk to them about music instruments, and they talk about the iPod, and we talk about cassettes and CDs and DVDs, and they're like, what are you talking about? So, but those are things that sometimes bring back those memories, the nostalgia, and having those, and that's something that has been gotten used lately in many service providers and products. When you go to the retro and look about and the retro movement and try to promote those things, because they're targeting to our audience, our age audience, and they're looking for that business, and that's something that definitely touches on people, that affection part.
Right. You always want to connect with things that make you feel good, right? In that affective area, I always remember when you go to Paris and there's this bridge that has all those locks, and all the couples go there and they just lock their love there. It's something so simple, but it works. I mean, there's millions of locks in there with the names of different couples. They just go there and they're in love and they put the lock there, and a lot of people travel just to do that.
I need to go to put a lock in Paris then.
Right. There's one with my name around there somewhere. So the other thing is it's the mental part, right? And people like to know about things, understand different things, right? So I can have a coffee shop and just sell coffee, or I can tell people this coffee comes from this area, and this is how they grow the coffee, and this is the coffee plantation, and a little bit of explaining people and putting them in the mood of how this coffee came to life, that makes a difference for people, and it changes the experience. And that's a little bit of what Starbucks has done in the past, and they've been very successful with that, you know. And they tell you, well, these coffee is from Colombia, and this other one is from Africa, and so on. And people kind of like that.
Right. No, definitely, and obviously we can go also into engagement part. That's something that is a very trendy word recently, having people being involved and interested or committed or having active participation, the connections and that dedication, and that's something very important for that products and services look for in all different areas of industries, because we are right now living in an era of everything is just now. I mean, we don't have time for tomorrow. We cannot be sitting still. I mean, we have the cell phones in our hands that we can get into, and if we are distracted, we go into a cell phone and find something to do. So having that, getting people engaged into a product or service is very key, because if you don't get that engagement quickly, then you might lose them, and you might go and they might not interest you, and the experience that they get is not necessarily a good one. Having, for example, picture opportunities or locations where you can go and take a picture, and even marking them the spot where the person with the camera should stand, so it takes a great picture, and then obviously you can share that into your social media and with your friends, and so that using those things are definitely important to keep people engaged in the experience or the journey that they're doing with your product or service.
It also helps to spread the word about the brand, right? So when people take pictures with your brand because you just set a nice spot on your store or on your restaurant or whatnot, they keep putting those on social media, and it's exponential. It gets to other people, and people ask about, oh, how do you get there? Or I like that place, I want to go. And you know, that's when the word of mouth comes to life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's important too, because it keeps people coming. Now, what will keep people coming for a second and a third time, or using your product a second or a third time, is not necessarily the things before, but the relationships that you make with them, right? So when people get to you, they want to be treated positively, you know. So once you have them there, you need to do something to provide the good experience they're expecting, right? And that relates to customers, but that's also related to employees, because most of the time that first encounter with the client is not with the owner of the brand or the owner of the company. It's more like with the first line employees, right? So having those employees empowered so that they could solve problems if those problems arise, having those employees happy, right? Knowing that you take care of them so that they can take care of your clients. That's very important too, because someone can come to you because they saw you in social media, or because they think it's going to be a nice experience because they've seen it, or there's an affective edge to it or a mental edge to it. But once they get there, they don't feel good. If you don't treat them well, then they won't come back, and that's useless, right? So keep them coming. That loyalty, it's important, and these factors will help you create that loyalty. Yep. What else, Ramon?
So let's go into the next one. Let's go into creativity. Use your creativity. That's something that definitely it's something that makes the little things that matter. And obviously, you can go as big and incredible like some of the pictures that we saw you before, or you can also see these pictures here that definitely can spark your curiosity and in terms of the experience. But the first thing, like we mentioned earlier, is you have to analyze your market and identify those gaps. This is when that comes into play here. That difference. What's that difference? That will definitely make you make you think about, I mean, what's the difference between you and your competitor and you and your service? What can you offer, do different? Like you can see here in the picture, the spa there, that if you have a location that has a great view or like a natural view, but even if you don't have a location that has a natural view, you can manufacture the location and have that difference that will make you be more creative.
Although it doesn't need to be something complicated all the time, because not everyone has the budget to like create a new location. Right. But it's making the best out of what you have. I tend to buy jewelry at this little shop here in Puerto Rico, and what makes a difference for me that they do is not necessarily the jewelry that I could find in other spots, the same things, but they have a nice packaging, you know, and I kind of like that because sometimes I buy things and they're gifts. So I kind of like the packaging and the way they present it. And it's so simple. It's just a little bag with a little bow. I mean, it's nothing expensive or complicated, but it makes a difference. You know, it's that little touch that they do and other people don't do.
Mm-hmm. That's a gap that they probably identified. Just the packaging is something that can definitely help you maximize that experience.
Then another thing you could do to use your creativity in creating that experience is obviously tap into the happiness factors, right, of sensory, affective, mental engagement, relationships. I was talking to Ramon yesterday that I love coffee. I'm like a super coffee fan. So I would go to different coffee shops and taste the new different coffees and stuff. And then there's these two young women, and they graduated with a degree in baking and pastry, and they wanted to have a pastry shop. But there's a million of pastry shops here in Puerto Rico. So what they did to make it different, they made it all pink, which is something so simple. They just painted the wall with pink. They decorated, everything is pink. And when you get there, you can have pink coffee or pink chocolate. And then all the pastry has some sort of pink frosting or, you know, something pink inside, you know. It's that theme that they picked, something so simple. And the minute they did that, the place was jammed packed. And people were getting there, taking pictures, posting on social media, recommending the place so much that other people kept coming, and they had to like open new pastry shops in different locations to be able to manage the demand. And there's a million pastry shops in Puerto Rico, like literally every corner you have one with good coffee. What they did different, it was just to tap into that sensory happy factor, and people just kept coming, you know. I thought that was very creative.
No, I agree with you. I think that not just that number point number 2 there, but I think they went also the first one, identifying a gap that they could fill, because obviously the pink aspect is something that makes the difference between all the other different pastry and coffee shops. But also I guess it goes with the third point there, the setting, the resources to create a unique and authentic experience that is different just by adding the pink color into everything that they're doing. And that's something that definitely some businesses and some industries will probably have more easiness in terms of creating unique experience or authentic experience. And particularly we are mostly in the hotels and events area, so we see that every day. That's something normal for us. That is basically required to have something unique and authentic in every single event that we do or participate in. But it doesn't have to be, like we mentioned before, it doesn't have to be something complicated. It could be like a pastry shop and they just decided to put pink. It could have been blue. It could have been red.
Or another theme, whatever.
Exactly.
And if you discover that there's a lot of Harry Potter fans around your area, fix, decor everything in Harry Potter mode, and I don't know, create some drinks that are like themed, and people love themes. So the other thing, when you talk about uniqueness, especially in destinations, and when you cater to tourism, which is our industry here, what Ramon and I do, when people travel, they want to know what locals do. That uniqueness of the local population, it's very attractive. And sometimes, again, it's not something complicated to do. Here in Puerto Rico, we had these artists, and there's an issue here in Puerto Rico about transportation, that we don't have public transportation going into the center of the island. Puerto Rico, for those who don't know, it's a small island. You could just go around or across the island in a couple hours. And there's mountains in the center, and then there's the nice beaches in the outside. So all those settings are kind of cool, but tourism weren't going into it because they didn't have ways to get there, and they never knew it was there. So these artists, they created a project, and they went and they painted the Puerto Rico flag in every single little spot in the island, right? And then they had a collaboration with the tourism company so that people could rent a car and go into all those little spots and take pictures. And only that, it's not that complicated, that created, a whole new client base of people that wanted to go outside the tourist area and visit these little spots. To know the local people, it created that authentic experience, and that worked real well here in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess one last point that we can add here is that to give your employees or your team the empowerment that they can solve situations and that they can take care of guests or your clients, and not have to necessarily wait for a supervisor or for the owner or director to come and solve the problem. Because sometimes a small detail like we have talked before, the parking, the waiting area, those are small touch points that we do in that customer journey, that if an employee doesn't have that empowerment to be able to feel or solve, then it can create a bad experience, and then it makes a small issue can become a complicated thing. So giving your employees that, so I know Zoe has an amazing story about her friend with the Ritz-Carlton. I will let her tell her briefly, because I think that's a great synonym of employee empowerment that if you can find.
We always talk to our students about the culture, the organizational culture at Ritz-Carlton and at Disney, because they're pretty ahead of the game, those two companies, in terms of customer service, and they empower their employees. They give employees a budget to resolve issues. So this friend of mine, she was getting married. She had a destination wedding. So when she was coming for her wedding, she was traveling with her wedding dress. And so when she got to the counter, the airline told her that the flight was full and that she couldn't take the dress with her, that they were going to check it. And she was a little anxious about it, obviously, because the wedding was the next day. And when they got over here, the airline somehow lost the dress. And so it was going to take some time to get her the dress back, because they didn't know where it was. And so that was a terrible, terrible experience she had just traveling. So before getting to the hotel, her experience was already ruined. But when she got to the hotel, the employee, the front desk employee who was there, he has a budget to resolve these issues. So he sees she's very upset and she's crying and she doesn't know what to do. He asks what's happening. She tells him, and he immediately says, don't worry about it. We'll get you a new dress. And he calls a bridal shop here in Puerto Rico, get 2 people from the hotel to take her to the shop, get her a dress, and she already had a dress. So the wedding was the next day. It was taking place at the Ritz-Carlton. So just that investment in that dress generated Ritz-Carlton a lot of money, because that girl, she's so grateful. Her parents are so grateful. So everyone's super grateful. She was having a terrible experience, and that's how one employee empowered can turn a situation into an awesome situation.
That was a great save.
That was a great save, right? And she, to this day, she recommends Ritz-Carlton Puerto Rico to everyone. And it's sad that after the hurricane, the property closed, but she continues recommending the brand because she knows, they solve your problems. And that had nothing to do with Ritz-Carlton, the issue. But still, taking the client and making her happy, that made a difference forever. That made it memorable or meaningful, right?
Yep. And
they did that because they can, because their employees are empowered to do that. I mean, and he could do it fast. The same happens in Disney, and I discuss this with my students all the time. When a kid goes or a family goes and they buy, for instance, an ice cream in Disney, and they give it to a kid, and the kid starts walking and the ice cream falls. The employees at Disney are empowered to serve another ice cream and give it to that kid immediately without asking anyone. Why? Because the ice cream costs 30 cents. But the happiness of that family and that kid, just because you solved their issue at the very minute it happened, that it's priceless. And they know that. So they empower their employees. They train them, to solve those little problems on the spot. And that makes the difference. And it's a way of solving situations on the spot and saving the experiences. Because sometimes you have a great product, but you can't control little things that will happen,
Yep, definitely.
We haven't talked about compelling stories, Ramon. How about that?
Oh, we did mention the obviously the maps in Puerto Rico, the flags in Puerto Rico, and how that project that they did in every town, it was very important. So I think we can go into the next slide that we have here, because that's something that when we're doing the research, it was something very interesting to me.
Yeah. All right. Well, we can use creativity, right? And creativity is important, but sometimes we had already used creativity. We have a product that works, and what happens? People get bored, because science says that we have this pretty cool feature. Humans have this pretty cool feature, and is that we adapt. It's called hedonic adaptation. And what happens is that as humans, we get used to things that used to make us happy. So if I go to this restaurant that I really love, I keep going for some time, eventually I'll get bored. Even if I love what they do, even if they don't change anything, if they are consistent with their service and everything, eventually I'll just get bored because it's the same thing, right? So in that sense, besides being creative with your product and creating good experiences, you kind of need to plan for surprises.
Exactly. So I think that was very interesting when we saw that about things that don't make you happy anymore. I thought about a whole bunch of things that used to make me happy, but I got so used to it that's something that fell into obviously not being that happy. So definitely this is the last point that we wanted to talk about and emphasize, and And the planning for surprises is something that it can be obviously as huge as the NBA game at the Radio City Music Hall, or it can be as simple as just handing out the food item, like you see the picture here. But something definitely that we talk about, and I think thinking outside the box is something that is very talked about a lot. But that's something that is one of the things that you need to constantly be thinking about, like, because it's about the differentiation of how you see yourself compared to your other competitors. So that's something that you definitely have to keep in mind. The be thinking outside the box for things that you can do different in your company.
So it could be like adding a new product or adding a new packaging or just giving samples of something or changing the decor or the music, or, it could be a lot of things, but people will expect something new. Every once in a while, something new in the way, or something different. And how can you do that? Well, sometimes using non-traditional things can really blow people's minds, right? And
right.
So like if I go to, we talked about the locations, right? We've talked about packaging. Sometimes the delivery too is a good.
Key.
I'm sorry?
No, so definitely is key sometimes the delivery. Like
right, the delivery is key. I mean, how cool if I can order something and get it the next day in the front of my house. We were talking, Ramon and Ana, yesterday, that trend in social media where people want to do the unboxing. Ramon does this all the time. Ramon, don't you?
Right. Yeah. Definitely something is part of the experience.
And so getting a nice box that when you open it has a nice layout inside and the products are laid out nicely, maybe with little packages and, a thank you note or something that makes a difference.
Right.
People love it.
Yeah, and so also playing with the ambience, the lights, the sounds, the aroma. We talked about some of the examples earlier before, but sometimes lighting can change the mood into a room and make a big difference, or even the paint in the walls. It's something that definitely can help for that surprise factor.
The giveaways is another way of planning for surprises. If you have a new drink that you created, like for instance, restaurants, this is very simple to do. And I've seen it and it works. You create a new drink, it's something nice, and then you give a little bit of it to people so that they can taste just a little bit. And if they like it, they can order it. That sometimes make a difference too. And it's something people don't expect. So it's kind of a way of taking the experience to the next level. And that definitely could be a nice touch, right?
Yep.
And it's not hard to do.
And that last one there, personalize the client experience. I mean, that's something that is super important, the personalization part. And we have some statistics about like 80% of the customers says they're more likely to do business with a company if it offers personal experience, and 90% of customers are willing to spend more when companies provide personalized customer service. And I had an example from this summer. I went to the Hershey factory in Pennsylvania, and normally the regular tour that they offer is free. You don't have to pay anything, but they had a personalization component of being able to create. I'm a big fan of chocolate. That's a disclaimer. So they had an experience that you could create your own chocolate bar with your name, and you can design the wrapping in the tin can, and obviously more importantly, you can put the ingredients that you wanted inside the chocolate bar. So it's very fully customized to you, obviously taking in consideration if you have allergies and things like that, and you dress as a chef. They provide you with the gown, and you see the whole process of the bar being created and the chocolate, pouring of the chocolate, going through the oven. So it's something that it takes maybe 15-20 minutes, but it's definitely priceless. I mean, obviously, and tasteless, and the taste is really awesome, the chocolate. but it's that personalization because it was my name, it was my the ingredients that I wanted. So I was definitely more inclined to keep buying more Hershey chocolate bars after that part.
And it creates engagement too, because
Obviously.
you're actually hands-on trying to make your own chocolate, which is
and put it on my social media too.
Right.
I'm very impressed with you know, all the tips and the things that a company should be implementing, you know, to just create an additional experience. And well, all of us are, you know, professors. We're teaching in different levels of university or college, etc. But our strength, I believe, is marketing and customer service. So what I think is that based on everything that you just talk about, one of the most relevant messages here is the experience and the perception. So no matter what you know, you have as a company, if you provide a service or you sell a product, what it really is about is the experience and the perception that the customer is going to have about your service and your product. And I believe that is so important that a lot of companies, you know, in the process, they forget about that, the experience, the perception, the communication with the customer. They just focus on selling and making money. So that's one of the problems that I see every day with a small business. They need to understand that if the customer is happy, they're gonna keep doing business, and they're gonna, even if, you know, we make mistakes as a company, they're gonna say, okay, you know, don't worry, let's try to work it out. And because they are happy, they feel like a family. And that's one of the things that I believe is important in any type of company, if you provide a service or if you provide a product. But from the moment that the customer feels that you are just selling something to this person, they're not gonna do it again, because they really wanna feel, you know, we are living in a competitive market right now. A lot of competitors, a lot of companies are doing the same. So what is gonna make you different? So for everybody that is looking this amazing webinar today, think about ideas. All the beautiful tips that our speakers presented today. But what about in your specific industry? Maybe you have other ideas that you can bring and implement in your business. And it's not necessarily, you know, very expensive. You can do something that is economic, but that's going to be worth it for you. Because people is going to say, you know, I want to really keep doing it. One of the things that, to finalize, I would love to keep asking you questions, but we're running out of time. I just want to say something here that as a chamber, we do events, and we always try to do the best to produce the events. We always try to organize, you know, everything, think about details. But when we do events, and you are in hospitality, so you understand, not everything is going to be perfect. Something is going to probably, you know, last minute change or this or that, or somebody's going to be complaining. I think the point is see how we can deal with the situation, deal with the complaints, and try to compensate the customer with something else. So that's the idea. And I believe so far this strategy has been working with us, and our members, you know, are repeated members, and they keep participating and supporting us. And I'm very proud to say that. I'm happy as well. So I want to thank you, Dr. Santiago, Dr. Corrada, for your amazing participation. I think this is just the beginning. We should organize another webinar where you can keep sharing more things about customer experience. Maybe you can also teach us more strategies for entrepreneurs that are emphasizing services, for example. Maybe you can help us with that. Our members are going to be very happy to hear more ideas from you.
Sure, we would be honored to do that. And we hope that we have been able to give you some good tips, and that you could take some of the things we've discussed here and apply it to your particular companies or products.
Yeah, you definitely did. Actually, I was writing down ideas. I love it. I was writing down the tips that you mentioned. I like the concept of pink. You know, people sometimes just get excited about themes. And I definitely like several of the things that you said. Final thoughts or words, Professor Corrada?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for your time, and hopefully this everything that we discussed can help you. And just make sure to incorporate your emotions, be creative, and add that wow in your experiences. That's definitely gonna be very important and help you be successful in your company.
Absolutely. And one of the most important things that both of them mentioned at the very beginning of the presentation is be happy. Because they said, we're happy. We love what we do. You know, if you are in this business and you don't like what you do, you need to change. You need to change the industry. You need to find a job, but do something that you really enjoy. Otherwise, you're not going to be creative. You're not going to be focusing on, making the customer happy. And definitely, you're not going to enjoy the journey. So my advice, be happy. If you think that what you're doing is not making you happy, change the industry, rethink maybe about the business you have. But if you are in the right track and you like what you're doing, please take notes of all these amazing tips, because that is going to help you actually to not just keep the customer happy, but also return customers, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much again, both of them. Amazing presentation. We're going to invite them to help us, presenting another webinar with more tips on how we can improve the customer experience with little details. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching this webinar. As usual, we're going to see another interesting presentation in a month presented by Ana G. Mendez University. And we're going to put on the captions the information on where you can contact them, the different programs they have. And also we have on the screen the information of our two speakers, Dr. Zoe Santiago and Professor Corrada. If you have questions, they can actually talk to you. You can send an email to them and they're going to reply to you, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yes, we will.
I'll be happy to do that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody. See you next time. Take care.
Take care.